Okay, I'm going to run through very quickly because we need to make sure we protect the time to hear back from our policy-making colleagues. So this is a very simple description of the complexities that RESILOC finds itself in. None of it will be new information for you, but some of it might give a clue as to how we might start to simplify. So the Horizon Europe environment for us is complex. We have a lot of stakeholders and interest groups involved, and a lot of people to keep happy, of course, all within a contractual framework. Horizon 2020 is a contractual process. So we understand that we have a hierarchy of stakeholders, but nonetheless a very complex sub-hierarchy involving researchers, all of the EU agencies that impact on resilience, practitioners themselves who are embedded in the project, consultancies like ourselves and others, industry who must never be ignored because they actually have a habit of driving innovation in our particular profession, and of course policy advisors as well. So Horizon Europe, or Horizon 2020, from a project perspective, is quite a complex network to manage in its own right. Coming on to the environment we work in, of course, is your world. It's the world of policy formation that each of the DGs and the agencies compete in. And of course, that itself, we understand the complexities of that. To change policy on something as broad as resilience obviously needs a complete buy-in from many organisations and agencies. And then we come down to the interest groups we're going to look at a little bit more in just a moment. But there's a message here from an individual project that we understand as RESILOC, we play a tiny part in informing policy, but nonetheless, sometimes we have an important thing to say. So shortening the route between an individual niche project and the people that make policy on the environment that enables it to be implemented is a good cause, we believe. So shortening that route is a good cause. The actual interest groups, now we've spoken to many of you in the past, obviously with Felipe and Cyrus and the evolution of the knowledge network, the evolving UCP knowledge network as it becomes real, Horizon Europe and the DRS group that we're going to talk about in a moment, the science pillar and everything coming out of JRC and RIA, of course, the national networks that exist and impact on us as well. And we have good links into those, the Spanish, in particular, Austrian, and some of our own country networks as well, which Katya, in fact, has referred to already. The UN and the EFDAR, obviously, and finally industry again, which we keep mentioning, the people that are going to hopefully take up the products of our project and move it forward beyond just a research environment. So between those three, the little world we live in as a project, the world you live in as policy formulators, and the complexities of the interest groups, we're all facing a little bit of a nightmare. So how do we make that simpler? And this isn't a solution, this is just one step forward we've taken a view on. Resilience Europe and indeed Horizon 2020 understands clustering because, of course, that's the basis on which it operates its calls for proposals. So clusters aren't anything new, and RESILOC certainly isn't claiming to have invented them. But nonetheless, clusters, once they're created, have a habit of not being that real. So if we look at DRS01, for an example, the cluster we're part of, then 6 projects have been funded. There's a name of them there: Builders, RESILOC, Core, Engage, Links and Respect. Each have got a set of common activities. They've got common themes. The DRS is a clue, there's a common theme there, and the 01 narrows it down even further. So there's generic subjects that each one deals with that live within a particular niche area of activity. So there's generic subjects, and we've given 2 examples there: ethics, glossaries. IT and platform needs tend to be the same, and comms and dissemination tends to be the same. So there's an awful lot of commonality between it. And very often we're dealing with a common audience. So whether that's communities or particular affected sub-communities, obviously we are talking to the same people as a lot of colleagues in other DRS1 projects. So it would be almost a crime not to make some sort of link. So with that in mind, let's just have a look very briefly at the DRS01 cluster that we're part of. Now we've seeded an embryonic cluster group. So we've taken the initiative to create a group out of, and it is a formal group, so it exists on a platform called CMIND that you're all well aware of, and all 4 projects are currently on that. It's chaired by RESILOC, so it was born from RESILOC, and the 2 latest projects that are just starting in September, Core and RISC-BAC, have already both agreed to be part of this experiment, if you like. Activities to date so far: regular meetings, conferences and events, not dissimilar to the one we're running today, polls and survey, shared work, which a colleague on the call, Ruth Edeliova, is actually the chair of this group, and she's run a number of particularly good combined activities around polls and surveys to make sure we're all speaking the same language, and also specific pieces of work that we've all been involved in around ethics and terminology. We've also had joint meetings with REC sponsors, so there is at least a link there starting to come together. So very quickly to round up, we want to bring this into the policy environment, and we'd love to embed the need for networking in future calls. It shouldn't be an option or left to a project whether it does or doesn't. It should be an explicit requirement of every project that you will work with partner projects in the same theme areas. Although this has only been a trial, we've seen a great reduction in the duplication of effort in specific areas, and there's lots more to come from that. It's a portal to have dialogue with people, so have one conversation instead of 6 conversations. A means of internal informal challenge and benchmarking. We do a lot of challenge within our own group to actually raise the standards in each of the 4 projects. I can think of a number of areas where RESILOC has been challenged by another project and has risen to that challenge and recognised it. But it's really helpful, rather than just relying on the project officer spotting everything, Carmen, we're trying to take a little bit of weight off your shoulders, that actually we challenge each other and we do a bit of quality assurance around our own work in a little discrete group to do that. Lots of debate going on to create common positions, and most importantly, a simple method of engaging with the broader resilience community. Now, this isn't a plug for CMIND, but it is what CMIND does. It immediately plants a relatively small project into a major group of crisis managers and researchers. So you're getting a global view of your local activity and your Europe-focused activity. And of course, a lovely nirvana, if we were to move towards a policy situation that encouraged, if not required this, could be a suite of shared DRS recommendations that worked together. So not just 4 sets of recommendations from 4 projects, but one set of recommendations that speaks to the DRS agenda. We believe it's an absolute driver for innovation and supporting improved policy, and we'd love to see it somehow moving towards a policy position with your support and your advice on how we might achieve that.